Hello, welcome to VR Roundtable, episode 38. My name's Gary, and joining me is Anthony and Chris. And this week we're going to be keeping it to quite a short show because we've got a few news stories that we can discuss, but we've got a few things on this week that are keeping us all a little bit busy. So we just need to keep this one a little bit shorter. Next week, I'll mention this now, just so I don't forget towards the end of the show. With E3 happening, we're probably going to be putting the next episode 39, up a couple of days later in order to get some reactions on all the news coming out of E3. So if the episode isn't up straight away, then just keep checking back onto the YouTube channel or the iTunes, because it will be up a couple of days later. But anyway, let's go over to Anthony. Anthony, how are you this week?
I'm doing good. Just a weather report here in Sacramento. It's starting to get scorching hot. And one thing that sucks about that from a VR standpoint is I really have forgotten about this because, we had winter and it was cooler and stuff. But I remember last summer, it was kind of unbearable because when you're playing VR, you already can get kind of hot, even if it's like, normal temperature. But then when you add like extra heat and stuff, I remember last year in the summer, I had multiple fans going like at full blast in different corners of my little room scale deal. And if I'm playing something like Cyberpunk or something where you're moving around a lot, man, you can get quite sweaty, and it's like I miss the winter already.
Yeah, I was the same last year. It's all the memories of last year coming back, because you start to. I've washed my the foam gasket on the Vive a couple of times, and I remember doing that last year because during the summer, it gets to the point where you really can't play it for longer than sort of 10-15 minutes before you start getting sweat dripping down the lenses. So yeah, it's a little bit gross, but also unavoidable, I suppose. Chris, how are you this week?
I'm all right. I'm recovering from being very sick, so that's fun. But yeah, I totally agree with you guys. Like, I have a VR cover, so that helps a little bit with the sweat, but it does get pretty annoying. Yeah, hopefully by next week I'll be back to normal. Somehow, I don't know if we can mention, I'll mention this now. If you haven't checked it out on the channel, I released a Vive Deluxe audio strap review, so you can check that out. It's on the VR Roundtable YouTube channel. I got that out right before I got sick. Like, the second I finished the video, I just couldn't move. So I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God I cut that out. But yeah.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that, because I was really interested to hear some opinions on that deluxe audio head strap. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, your impressions on the show anyway. But we'll get into the first news story this week, and we've got a few that we can talk about. The first one is the one that struck me first, actually, is the Aryzon Kickstarter. Now, this has been sort of portrayed as the cardboard equivalent for augmented reality, the augmented reality equivalent, I should say. And what it is, it's a Kickstarter at the moment, and we've all missed the early bird version of this Kickstarter, but you can pledge around sort of 30, it's around 30 euros, 30 pounds, around $30, I believe now as well. And what it is, it's a small cardboard device similar to Google Cardboard, but it's slightly different in shape, and you can put your phone inside, and it uses these filters and these screens and obviously the lenses, as we've all seen, and it can give you sort of a taster of augmented reality. It looks pretty interesting, and I have been considering jumping in onto this Kickstarter, but at the end of it, what I'm thinking is, £30, and I'm getting some cardboard and a few lenses similar to Google Cardboard. So I'm not too sure. It depends how compelling the experience is and how many apps will come out for this kind of thing. Anthony, did you see this one, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I did see it, and it's definitely a good idea. But when I was watching their Kickstarter video for it, one of the things that I noticed is like when the guy gets the piece of like the paper thing that has all the little pieces that you peel off and you combine it and do everything to actually make the thing. They did like a super fast, like, like him making it. And when I saw all those little pieces, I was like, man, that looks pretty damn complicated. But I mean, it's a cool idea. The theory there is that, well, the way I look at it is you can give people a taste of AR in the same way that you can get a taste of VR with cardboard. I don't think people are going to get this and they're going to be totally satisfied with that experience, but they get a taste, and then now they know, okay, when HoloLens is affordable, when Meta and Avegant and eventually Magic Leap and all these other ones come, now they kind of know what AR is about to a degree, and they know that they can get a way better experience, but this gives them a little taste. So it's good overall, but like they showed like a doctor wearing one in like a surgery thing, and I kind of doubt that that's going to happen, but
Yeah,
it's a cool idea.
it is a really good idea. So you put your phone into this thing and it projects in a similar way to how, I don't know if you've seen it in some cars at the minute, where they sort of project the speedometer up onto like a transparent piece of glass close to the windscreen. It works in a similar way to that. It's basically projecting the screen on and reflecting it into your eyes in that way to merge actual reality and then what's being presented on the phone. Chris, I know you've been ill over the past few days and you weren't too sure if you were going to join us this week or not, but we're glad you've made it. But I don't know how many of these news stories you've had a chance to look into, but did you see this one at all?
Yeah, I watched the Kickstarter video while you guys were discussing it, just to kind of see what it's about. It looks kind of cool. I don't understand. I don't know if it's just me, like if you guys can help me understand, but I don't get how you can like have the real world focused and then the virtual world focused like in the same focal plane. Like that lens like compensate for that? I don't know. I just never have gotten that with AR. I'm really curious.
No, I think that's part of this. I mean, we can mention it now. Actually, we're going to mention it in a little while, but with this Avegant HMD, there was a new tested video that came out, and they were talking about an interview with this where they were saying it's all about the focal planes within AR that make it for a realistic and compelling experience. And this is something, I've always been confused about. I don't know how this stuff works. I wish I did, but it is confusing, and I'd love to try one.
Yeah, for sure. It looks cool. I might pick one up. It kind of looks neat. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm considering it. I'm just not too sure at the minute. We'll see.
Yeah, one of us should.
yeah, we should. Anyway, just on the next news story that we've got down here, I wanted to mention this very quickly. Just that this week, was it Computex where this was announced, the Intel Core i9 processor, which was announced last week. And this is a sort of a very, very high-end processor. It's got 18 cores, 36 threads. Now, with the integrated graphics, an article on Road to VR was talking about this, and they were saying, Intel was saying that, with the integrated graphics on this processor, as a whole, the processor is still not quite VR ready on its own without sort of a dedicated GPU or anything. But they did say that they're getting there, and hopefully, in a couple of years, we could get a processor that will be sort of a self-contained VR ready processor that will be able to give us some kind of reasonable fidelity of what we're used to today in VR in a couple of years time, just in one self-contained unit. But this processor, obviously, it's not something that most people will be purchasing. It's for enthusiasts. But I wanted to bring this one up because I am currently running a i5 6600 Intel processor in my VR PC, and I've never really been fully happy with that processor, if I'm being honest. I do get some CPU bound frame drops. It's not the K version of this processor, so I've not overclocked it. It's not capable of overclocking, and I just feel like it's not quite delivering. So this just today, actually, I've placed an order for an i7, a 6700K, just to give me that extra little bit. I know it probably won't improve VR a great deal, but I also wanted it for the hyper threading for video rendering and things like that as well. So I bought it for a combination of reasons. But Chris, just going back to you on these enthusiast processors, what do you think of this i9?
It looks super powerful, which is good because it seems like lately there's just been not that big of a leap in processor improvement. Like every year they've just gotten marginally better, and this looks like a bigger jump than usual since like someone got a world record overclocking it or something. Up to 5.7 gigahertz, which is
Oh,
kind of
really?
impressive. Yeah.
Wow.
So I have a i7 3820, which is getting very old. My system's kind of getting a little old, so I'll probably have to upgrade soon as well. So I didn't know, is this i9 series a whole new thing, I guess?
I believe so, yeah, because I think before they've never actually called a chip. It's the X series, I believe, is what they used to call this sort of high-end enthusiast CPU. But they've never actually formally called any of these sort of an i9, but there were rumors going around before this was announced that this was going to be called the i9. So yeah, it looks like they've jumped straight in. I'm just speaking off of what I've been reading over the past few days, because I don't know a lot about these the history of these high-end enthusiast processors.
Yeah, it says it has 18 cores and 36 threads. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember seeing a few years ago there was a video that I was watching on YouTube where they were talking about some processors that were coming out that were sort of 18 cores, and this was just ridiculous. I mean, I don't know the price of those processors all those years ago, but this one is going to be going for around $2,000 so it's not something you can pick up lightly. Anthony, what do you think about all this latest processors?
Yeah, so it's something that I'm always kind of curious about because I'm definitely living on borrowed time with my PC. I've said it, it's been a while since I've said it, but I've said it a million times that I got an i5 2500K from the year of our Lord 2010. So it's actually over 7 years old because I got it in the early spring of 2010. It's 7 years old, but it's known as a champion. I mean, if you go to the hardcore gamers, they know the 2500K. I got the thing overclocked to like 4.3 gigahertz, and I have to have my fans running constantly, so my computer tower sounds like a furnace or an air conditioner. It's just constantly creating noise, so that sucks. But I'm always on the lookout for when the next big advancement might be, because I've waited so long. And so I feel like, okay, now it's finally time to jump in. I know we heard about the Ryzen, like the AMD Ryzen thing, and everybody was super excited about that, thinking that it'll really put some pressure on Intel and that maybe this could be the price performance leader. And then that came out and it kind of ultimately was kind of a disappointment. It didn't quite live up to what everybody hoped. But I turned to NeoGAF. Like NeoGAF will usually have a thread about these things, and there are people on there that know this stuff like you wouldn't believe. Like they know every little detail about it, and I will see what everybody's saying, and you kind of get a general consensus. And the theory is on these i9s is that they're not really for gamers right now. So it's kind of like move along, don't really look at this. It's not. See, when you start paying money for computer parts, it really becomes like that performance to dollar ratio. And what you said, Gary, is like you're going up to the i7. Which one was it?
The 6700K.
Okay, so the 6700K i7. So now you'll be able to overclock. Plus, you're at that i7 level. And there are certain circumstances. I remember when I was first playing Job Simulator, because you're manipulating so many different objects and the developers have to put physics to all of these little tiny objects, you can have some CPU issues. Because when Job Simulator first came out, anybody that had an i5 2500 like me, we had problems. And then Alchemy Labs, they put out an update that kind of took that into consideration, and then it worked way better. But yeah, we're going to start to get into that range where people are going to have to start paying attention to their CPU.
Yeah. I'm just going to change the order of these news stories around slightly because Chris isn't able to join us for the entire show. He's got some other commitments to do shortly. So I wanted to just move on to the deluxe audio strap that was released this past week, because I wanted to get Chris's opinions on this, because he actually received one last week and did a review for it on our channel, as he said. So let's pass it over to Chris. What are your opinions on this?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. It definitely makes the Vive a lot more usable for me because I wanted to use the Rift always just because of how comfortable it was, and this kind of brings it closer to the Rift. It's not the best. It's kind of like they just copied the Rift, but that's okay. Yeah, it's definitely good. I don't know. Do you guys have any questions about it or?
Yeah, I mean, this is something I'm thinking about. I'm still thinking about picking up. I don't know whether to or not, to be honest. Part of the reason I'm in two minds about this is because I actually use the earbuds that came with the Vive, and I've routed them through as some people have, so they sort of dangle down at the side, and it's sort of all in one for me anyway, just using the standard Vive strap. The problem is, obviously, I want a more comfortable Vive head strap, really, and I think this can offer me that part of it. So does it enable you to play for longer or more comfortably? Is it a noticeable difference in comfort, really?
I would say so. It still kind of does the clamping of the head like more than the Rift does. The Rift kind of tries to set it and let it rest on your head somehow. But yeah, it definitely puts on a lot less pressure. It has like a spring-loaded thing, so I think it'd be good for you, Gary. I like the headphones a lot. Like if you're already used to using the the earbuds, these would be probably a huge improvement from those, I think.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you about this as well is because when Tested did a video, this wasn't their review of the Deluxe Audio head strap, but when Norm from Tested was trying this at an event before, he was speaking about how the bottom of the Vive, when wearing the head strap, the actual bottom that rests on your cheeks was pulled away slightly, and there didn't seem an easy adjustment for him to change that. It was almost like it was stuck with that position. Is that anything you've noticed at all?
So like it was tilted down like this, or like
no, it's actually because watching your review, you seem to have the opposite opinion. With Norm, he was saying it was more sort of tilted upwards, away from his cheeks.
Yeah, no, that's like on your head, it naturally goes down. I think like sure when you hold it, it goes up, but like just because of gravity, it seems to go down. It actually looks like it can't go past here. That's interesting. Yeah. I didn't notice that, but yeah, no, I usually get way more pressure on the lower part, not necessarily the upper part, which is kind of opposite to the Rift, and it's kind of opposite to what the Tested guys said, I guess.
It might be more just the way he had it positioned, he had it set up at that particular event, because they didn't mention that in their review. One final question I've got, I noticed you've got the old 3-in-1 cable on there, and this is something that some people were mentioning on Reddit, how the older cable doesn't work quite so well as the newer cable. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think it does that well. Like I didn't even bother putting on the Velcro strap because I knew that would like you're supposed to have a Velcro strap right here to hold it in place, but that would just make it way more cumbersome than having it just hang out right here. It seems like kind of designed for it in some ways. Like I'm glad they at least let it fit in here, you know, instead of just making it not work. But yeah, no, I think it works fine. You just can't use the Velcro strap. I've seen people using the Velcro strap on the back and just saying how it pulls at it wrong. But if you just don't put on the Velcro strap for the old cable, it works pretty well.
Okay. Anthony, have you got any plans to pick up the Deluxe Audio strap?
You know, my biggest issue is the LG headset that could be coming later this year. I really like how you can just flip that thing up, you know, and it has that thing that goes over your forehead, and it like locks it here and it locks it here, and you can just flip that thing up. But the LG, the controllers look terrible, so I don't know about that, and then possible wireless, all that other stuff. But for me, it's like, what is the grand total cost with tax and shipping and everything to order this headset? Like, is it 138.57 or something? You know, because you everybody says, oh, it's $99, but then I bought a Vive controller and it was supposedly something, but I know I paid $156 to get the damn thing. So it's like the actual real cost that flies away from your checking account. I want to know what that amount is, because if I maybe And then the LG, like if the LG was coming in 2018, I probably would have already bought this thing. But with the LG maybe coming later this year, it's like, I'm like, I don't know. So I'm just kind of taking a wait and see approach. But I really wish, I mean, there are some advantages this thing has, because I can tell you whenever I use my Vive, it's always like, okay, where's my headset? Okay, got to get my headset, plug it in. And it's a hassle, you know?
Yeah, I think the price issue on this, to me, it does feel like it's a little bit too expensive for what it is. But you know, we'll see. I'm not too sure at the moment. I might pick it up. Who knows?
Yeah, I kind of agree, but I got sent it for free, so I can't really.
Yeah. Okay. The next news story that I wanted to talk about this week is the one where yet another new wireless peripheral was announced, and this is sort of again HTC getting involved with Intel this time, and this is one that they're going to be showing off at E3 this year. Uses a similar kind of technology to TP-Cast, again, 60 gigahertz band. This is being advertised as less than 7 milliseconds latency, whereas the TP-Cast has always sort of said less than 2 milliseconds latency, additional latency. So that's something that's interesting to me. Now, this does use slightly different technology. This uses WiGig technology, which is I don't know a lot about it. This is just something that I read before I came on. The differences between the TP-Cast and this one uses WiGig, which is an enhanced router. So it's more like an all-encompassing solution for data transfer. The TP-Cast uses wireless HD technology, which is dedicated to just the transmission, the high-speed transmission of video data, basically. So it uses a slightly different method of transmitting the data, although it's all within the 60 gigahertz band. So yeah, another wireless solution will be coming our way. I think the costs of these at the moment with the TP-Cast, I mean, that's really the only one that we know a final cost at the moment. I think it's around $250, and over here in the UK, £250, I believe, when it will be released. So yeah, Chris, have you got any thoughts on all of these wireless things?
Yeah, it looks cool. I'd like to upgrade my router soon anyway. So if I could get a WiGig router and already be, kind of supported by Intel to do wireless VR stuff, that'd be really neat. I have a lot of questions about it that I'm sure will probably get answered at E3, but I'm just kind of wondering how they're going to send the signal through this router. Like, will it have a special port, or will it just go through Ethernet? And in that case, it might kind of take up your Ethernet bandwidth if you're trying to browse the web or something. So there's like a lot of questions on that, but I think it's a good idea to kind of make it more tied into Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I agree. I think because we'll presumably we'll all be getting these kind of enhanced routers at some point anyway. So this is sort of trying to play into the future of that kind of technology anyway, and it's not position itself as being sort of you have to buy this dedicated thing just for your Vive. You can buy this router, which will be able to be used for a wide variety of things. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot still up in the air with all of this stuff. But Anthony, I know we were talking last week about how I think it was last week anyway, where we were talking about whether we should sort of continually upgrade the headsets that we've got or wait for the next generation. And I think you touched on that with this the Headstrap in the last story. But what do you think of these wireless? Is wireless something that you're willing to jump onto?
Wireless is something I definitely want. Apps. I mean, I want it a lot more than like a strap or even the foveated thing, because I don't know how well that's going to work initially. But one rumor that has been kind of bubbling under the surface, and I don't know if this has absolutely been confirmed or not, but I've heard people talk about the TP-Cast, that it doesn't pass the microphone. So you have to then get like a little USB thing and like route like some little USB microphone. So you have to kind of patch something on, where the Intel ones supposedly will also have the bandwidth to pass the microphone. That's pretty big right there.
Yeah, they are. The last I heard about that, actually, I think TP-Cast have now come out and said that that's a driver issue more than anything else, and they're hoping to update that at some point in the coming weeks. So hopefully that is an issue that will be resolved, because that is quite a big deal, really, for some people.
And then the other thing too is like you saw the video of the guy doing it, right? And the guy is like he's got the battery pack on his head and he's standing in one spot and he's just shooting around. And it was funny because some of the people were commenting on this like, why didn't they have somebody like playing Space Pirate Trainer or something where they have to dodge and move more? This guy's basically standing in one spot and just doing this, not really demonstrating it very well. And then the battery pack, it didn't, I mean, how is that going to be comfortable having a heavy battery pack on your head? But
Yeah.
I trust Intel more than I trust TPCast. I'll tell you that right now. Like I trust their, like a company that has been around for a long, long time, a proven track record. They know their stuff. I trust them way more than I trust this TPCast. So for me, I'd rather wait till early 2018 for Intel, but I'm still, like you said, Gary, I'm still hoping to just make a full upgrade and not do all the little doodads.
Yeah. Okay. The last news story I've got, I know that you've got a couple of game announcements that you want to talk about, Anthony, briefly, but I just wanted to talk about this game because Star Trek Bridge Crew came out last week. I don't believe, Chris, you've not purchased this one, have you? No. None of us have actually played this game. As far as I know, none of us are huge Star Trek fans. And that's obviously the IP that will really get your attention to pick this game up. I've looked at this and I've considered it. It's a £40 title, I believe $50. So it's not the cheapest title in the world. And I was thinking about this. I don't know if actually having the Star Trek IP is turning me off it, because if this didn't have that IP attached to it, I was thinking maybe I would jump in on this if it was a little bit cheaper, but I think it demands that kind of cost for that IP really being attached to it. Chris, have you got any thoughts on this, and have you considered picking this game up at all?
I've started to consider it, but I just know I'll have to not only buy it, but convince all my friends with VR headsets to buy it. That's the big issue for me, is that I need everyone I know to have it, or else it's not really fun. I wouldn't want to play this like in single player or anything. But all the reviews I've heard say it's like really good, and some people even say it's like a milestone game. Like it really shows off social VR well. So I don't know, if the price drops a lot, and maybe if I get into Star Trek, I'd buy it, but not right now.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. If maybe it comes down in cost, I might be tempted to pick it up. Anthony, how about you?
Yeah, I wish they would have demos of this stuff. It's like just give us a little 5-minute segment that, you know, gives us a little bit of a teaser, but we can kind of get a quick feel for it. I wish we had, like, I remember when Werewolves Within came out, and everybody especially in the PlayStation VR community, everybody was ranting and raving about it. But I'm not that big of a multiplayer guy. See, the thing about multiplayer is you have to depend on other people, you know, for your entertainment. Like for your entertainment to work, you have to depend on these other people. And for me, it's like, I don't know when I'm going to have the time to play. So it's hard for me to schedule like when I'm going to play. So I just hop in and play randomly. And a single player game works great for that because I can do it whenever. Now, if I got this Star Trek Bridge Crew deal, you jump in there and you're with 3 other people, right? And if the 3 other people are really cool and everybody's kind of like being respectful and like just kind of like having fun with it, and they all have kind of a good attitude, you can have an incredibly fantastic experience. And I think that's why so many people rave about this, because the social aspect in VR really is magical. But if you get that one asshole in there that is just like basically griefing everybody else that's in the play session, then that can really be a nightmare. I'm going to try to, I used to have GameFly and I would get PlayStation VR games, and I canceled it because they didn't have much going on. But I think I might go ahead and renew, and this would be a great game for that, because then I could try it out and see how it is. And then also, the one cool thing about this game is you do have the cross compatibility. So you could play with PlayStation VR people, Oculus people, Vive people, and it just works. And the graphics aren't like super high end on any of them, so it should kind of run good on all of them. I'd love to check it out. I really would. But yeah, it's a little on the pricey side. I just wish demos were more in vogue.
Yeah, it's we should say, yeah, I think we've already sort of covered it, that it is getting a great reception, this game. Everybody seems to really enjoy it. And even though I don't think it's particularly for me, I'm pleased that a game with this IP is getting such a lot of attention, because it draws attention towards VR anyway. People that are not necessarily into VR but just into Star Trek will probably see this at some point and just become interested. So yeah, it's good news either way. Anthony, do you want to just mention a couple of games?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention something I noticed, and I don't know if it's a developing trend or anything like that, but it happened recently, so I just wanted to bring it up. There were 2 games that were recently announced. One of them was for PlayStation VR. I believe it's called Theseus. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. It's kind of like a Greek thing or something. And this is a third-person action platformer, very similar to Chronos. And Gary, as you know, we were both very late to the party on Chronos, but I think we both loved it. I know I loved it, and this looks to be very similar. And if you see the trailer for this, the graphics look really good, which I kind of wonder, how are they going to do that on PlayStation 4? Of course, I remember the Battlezone trailer looked way the hell better than that game actually was. So it's just kind of the trailer thing, but this looks really cool. But the exciting thing about it is they announced the game and then they said it's coming this summer. And the other thing happened with Gunheart. Gunheart is coming from, God, what's their name? Completely lost track of the name of the studio.
Epic Games, is it the
Well, there's some Epic Game members. Some people that worked on Robo Recall actually are on this team. There's a guy that worked with Microsoft HoloLens and Kinect that is on this team. Drifter Entertainment outside of, or in Seattle, Washington, it's a group of VR. It's a VR studio, and they have this game Gunheart, and it's coming to the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive this summer, and it's going to come to PlayStation VR a little bit later. And if you see the trailer for this, you're basically like a space marine guy on an alien planet with alien bug things coming at you. It's very similar to Farpoint, kind of. And that might be why the PlayStation VR version is delayed a little bit, because they just got Farpoint. But people on Vive and Rift did not get Farpoint. And so this looks really interesting. It's kind of, it's just a wave shooter, really, but it looks like a very high-end polished one. And for me, I'm more interested in this trend of games kind of, excuse me, games kind of just randomly announced, and then it's like coming this summer. I mean, we're in summer now, so as this game's coming out in the next 90 days, I guess, and same thing with Theseus. So as we get closer to E3, this could kind of be a trend where we get some games that kind of come completely out of the blue that we weren't prepared for, and then all of a sudden, bam, there's some big games hitting. So I think that's kind of exciting, because you have to imagine all these headsets have been around for a while, and there's some developers that have been slaving away for maybe 2 years on a project, and now this is the time when those projects are going to start coming due. So I think it's really exciting as we head into E3 to get some of these announcements. I don't know if you guys happen to see the trailer for Gunheart or Theseus, but they both look pretty cool.
Yeah, I did see the trailer for Gunheart. I didn't see the one for Theseus, but yeah, it looks, like you say, it looks like a wave shooter, but a very polished one. So it's something I'll keep my eye out for.
Yeah, for sure. That was cool. Gunheart, I was like, whoa, that looks awesome. Is it multiplayer, right? Co-op? Yeah, it's co-op.
I think it might have co-op, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta go, guys, but thank you for having me on the show. See you next week.
No problem.
Oh, no problem. Take it easy, Chris.
Yeah, we'll speak to you next time.
See ya.
Okay. So yeah, Chris had to just leave a little bit early this week, but that's okay. We've pretty much come to the end of our news stories anyway. So Anthony, shall we get on to what we've been playing this week? I know we're a little bit light on this as well, unfortunately, but why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, so excuse me. So the big game for me this week is To the Top. To the Top, I believe, is I forgot the name of this developer too. Is it Magical Hat Studios or something? Or
I should know this, wouldn't I?
damn it.
Carry on talking. I'll have a look.
Okay, so to the top is a platformer in VR, and we've seen a number of these platformer games in VR, and you kind of think about it as like a first person platformer in VR seems like it would be really hard to do. But we saw it to a degree with Windlands, although it's, semi platformer, I guess. And then, of course, Climby, which everybody, has a lot of love for Climby. And so To the Top is another one of these games in that kind of category. And when I first got the game and was trying it out, I had a lot of problems with the controls. Like the controls do take a little bit of while to get used to. But once you learn the feel for it, man, I'm really loving this game right now. I mean, well, basically, see, so you have these two hands, okay? But the hands are almost like on these like 10-foot extension rods that you can kind of shoot out places. And when you're first playing the game, you kind of, it's like, I can't really do anything. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. This isn't working. But then when you realize, okay, you take your hands and you place them somewhere and then you kind of flick. It's like you flick your controllers down and it's like you flick up and you jump up. And so then what you start to realize is, oh, if I position my hands on that rock there and then I grab on it, and I flip up and then I position it to that rock and I flip up. And eventually what you find is that you can just start jumping like crazy and you're jumping from rock to rock. And it's like this parkour thing. And what you get into with this game is time trials. So they have all these different levels, but you can just go through the levels one at a time if you want. But what I started to do, at first I went through about like 5 or 6 levels, just going to next level, next level, next level. But what I've been doing now is I'm actually going back to the very first level and trying to earn the medals, trying to get faster and faster. Like the first level, I finally got under 11 seconds. So I got the gold medal or whatever, that you get for that one. And I'm just having a ton of fun, man, just going through these levels. And then the music is incredible. I love this musical soundtrack. I'd like to listen to it in my car, actually. I wish you could pay like $5 extra and get the MP3s. But Chris, go ahead. I mean, Gary, go ahead and talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I picked this one up, and well, actually, sorry, I should say we did get sent it by the developer. So, but these. And the developer, just because I did check this out, it's Electric Hat Games is the developer of this. And I played it, and I'm probably still a little bit more at the stage you described you were when you first played it. I think it's good and I enjoy it, but I'm still having a little bit of problem with the controls. Not necessarily playing the game, and the controls are relatively simple, really, but they're not very satisfying to use, at least to me at this stage. And I'm sure the more I play this, I'll get used to it and get to the point where you are. But with this, it's not quite as polished as I was expecting it to be. There's a few, it's a little bit janky in terms of visuals, perhaps. So, I'm just getting all the bad points out of the way first. I was a little bit unimpressed with that, especially considering the price of this game is £18.99. Presumably it's around $25 over in the US. So it's not the cheapest game in the world. And for me, it's like a cross between, I'm sure this is a comparison that somebody else has made somewhere on the internet, but it's kind of a cross between Climby and Windlands, really, because you're right, your hands are almost on these, you sort of shoot your hands out to grab hold of things, similar to how you shoot the hooks out in Windlands. So it works by combining those two kind of gameplay elements, I would say. And I am having fun with it. I think I need to give it a little bit more time, but yeah, I'm not quite convinced at the moment, but I'll go to your opinion on this.
You know what? There are some frustrating things about this game, absolutely frustrating things about it when you're first coming to grips with it, because basically what you find in the game is that anything that has this blue colored covering to it, like a rock or a square on the ground or like a ledge or something, anything that has blue, that's what you can grab on and you can launch yourself. Okay. But anything that doesn't have blue, there's certain other spots where you can climb in certain spots that it isn't blue, but it's a little bit arbitrary. But when I was first playing this game, I actually got frustrated with it. And I was like, this game kind of sucks until I got the feel for it. But you'll get stuck in certain areas where it's like, oh crap, I'm over here. There's no blue thing. I can't reach any blue thing. What do I do now? Is there any regular teleport or trackpad locomotion? How do I get back over to where I need to be? But what you find out is if you hit that top button on your remote, on your Vive controller, it takes you immediately back to your last checkpoint. So if you ever get stranded in some little corner somewhere, you just have to hit that button. The other thing to know too is that this is like a time trial game where you really want to speed through the levels, and like you'll do an easy level and you'll get a pretty good time, but you'll be like, you know what, I can do that faster, and you'll keep doing it and you'll keep trying to improve your time, and you'll get into this flow where you just want to keep doing it really fast. And one of the nice things about this game is if you turn your wrist in the game, a menu pops up on your arm. You just kind of have to like turn it around a little bit, and then a menu pops up. And with your other controller, you can highlight the restart button and you could just bam, restart really quickly. So one thing I love is when games give you the option to quickly get back into it, to try again. And you can do that with this game. If you end up, like if you're trying to do a time trial and you make a terrible mistake and you screwed up your time and you don't want to continue to do it because you have no chance, boom, you just restart. And so that's what I've gotten into lately, is just like, if I'm working on my time, I just restart, keep doing it again. Another thing you'll notice too is that there's certain like kind of power-ups almost in the game where if you make a certain number of jumps consecutively without screwing anything up, like if you hit a jump, as you hit more jumps, you kind of gain like more of a boost. And so there's like certain, like you're trying to get way up on top of this huge tower and there's only like 7 little blue things, and it's like, how am I going to get way the hell up there? But what you realize is, oh, if I hit all 7 of those squares, and if I jump perfectly from one to the other, then I have enough momentum and boost to actually get way up to that tower up there. And so you start to learn kind of the feel of it. But Gary, my suggestion is try to stay with it, because, okay, did you get to that one level where they have these like blue tubes that go around? There's like these big blue tubes, these circular tubes. It's like the 3rd level, I think.
Yeah, I did play the 3rd level, so yeah, I must have got that.
Okay, so you probably got to that level. Well, what I notice is, because you have these red hands, right? You have these red hands, and it looks like this, and when you put them on things, you'll see the position of the hands. Like they could be positioned like that, and the position of the hands affects how you jump off of something. So it's really important how you position your hands like that. But like these blue tubes, like there's these huge blue tubes that keep going around. And at first I didn't know what I was doing. I kind of went like under the tubes and it took a long time. But if you put your hands on the outside edges of the blue tube and you pop yourself up, and then you pop to that next blue tube and you pop to that, it's awesome, man. You get this exhilarating rush because you're like, boom, boom, boom. And it's so smooth. It's like Mirror's Edge. It's like when you have a great run in Mirror's Edge and you feel that exhilaration of it. That's what I'm chasing in this game, is like this moments of flow. It's like a flow that you get into when you're zipping around. But yeah, sometimes if you fumble, you screw up, you end up over in this other area, and it's like, how do I get back to something? Well, what you have to do in this game is you just hit that menu and you got to basically, you go back to the checkpoint and you continue from there. But stick with it, because I'm really loving it.
Well, just hearing you talk about it, I mean, you've got me convinced. Really, I do need to stick with it, because there is certain little, because I didn't give it a huge amount of time. I played maybe 30 minutes of it altogether, and I was aware, even when I'd finished playing, that I hadn't given enough time to really get into the little small details of all the gameplay. I will mention, I don't feel like I have a frustration with the controls in this game. I think the controls are good. I just find them a little bit unsatisfying at the minute. It's unsatisfying to move around this world, which is really one of the main selling points of this game. It's supposed to feel satisfying to move around this world. And hearing you talk about it, I feel like you have got that satisfaction. And you've got all these little game mechanics that won't necessarily come right at the beginning that you need to give it a little bit of time to. So I can perfectly understand that. And, you know, I've been reading some reviews of this game and it's doing really well in the reviews. So a lot of people love it. Whether I could recommend it myself at this stage for the price that it's currently on sale for, I'd probably say no, but presumably you're happy to recommend it at that price.
When I first saw the price, like before I ever played this game, and I had heard about it, and I thought, oh, this looks kind of cool. It's like another climbey type of game. And I saw that it was $25. I was like, wow, that, because climbey's like $10. Windlands, I think, is 20. And I was like, man, because when you start to get into that $25 range, you put yourself into a little bit of a different category where when you're at that $19.99, it's more of a, you know, it's $20. It's $20. But you go above $20, then people start to kind of think about it a little bit longer. And when it was 25, I was like, man, they're asking a lot for this. And then we got the key from the developer. So full disclosure there. But when I started playing it in the very beginning, I was like, oh, this isn't looking too good. I'm going to feel bad because I'm not going to give a good review to this, you know, and I'm not really liking it. But when I got the feel for it, I'm telling you, it's those blue things. And it's all about grabbing a blue thing and getting a good jump and grabbing to the next one and catching a flow. But if you mess up your flow, it's frustrating because you get you fall down, you slip, you fall down, but just hit that button and boom, restart it again. But I'm loving it, man, because it's like you get to compete. I love the games where it's like these time trials, and then you get to see all your friends on the friends list, and you get to see where they were on the time trials. And then you could like send them a message and be like, hey, man, can you get under 20 seconds on this? I got under 20 seconds. What are you doing? You know? Yeah. But I don't know how many total levels there are. Graphically, it's a mixed bag graphically, but I kind of like what it has going on like in the backgrounds because like I don't know if it's the third stage, but you're almost like in this kids room, like a little kids room, and you'll see like toy cars and stuff like way off in the background. It's kind of just a flat background, but you're going through these almost like Candyland style worlds, the board game Candyland. It's a mixture of Climby and Windlands and Mirror's Edge. It's Climby, Windlands, and Mirror's Edge mixed in a blender. And I feel like, what about the music, Gary? I mean, did you play long enough to get into the music?
I did hear the music. You know, I think they are going for that kind of thing. It's sort of really dominant. The music in this game is really dominant. And I suppose if it's your thing, then it's perfect for you. I didn't really particularly like the music that was in there, but you know, it's just a subjective thing. That is, people who like that music will really like this game because it's so dominant within this game.
Well, the music, like the music that's in here is not my genre of music. If I was going to buy music, this isn't the music I'd buy, but it's the kind of music where when I'm playing through the game and I'm like catching a good flow and then I have this nice little beat playing in the background, it kind of combines and adds extra to the experience. This could be part of the reason it's at 25 because I was looking at it and all these different songs are actually like they're real artists and you can buy like their songs. And so the developer of the game maybe had to license all these tracks and that could have added quite a bit to the cost of the game. So they kind of had to pass it on to the end user and that brought it to 25 or maybe it would have been 19 without that music. But It's not my genre of music, but it's the kind of music where, dude, stick with it, because I'm telling you, some of these tunes are going to get in your head, man.
Well, yeah, it's quite possible. You know, the more I play it, and there's many games where I'll play and the music doesn't hit me straight away, but then the longer you play it and you get into it, and like you say, once you get into the flow of the game and the music is highlighting certain flows that you get into, I guess that can all add to it. Just to say, there's 30 levels in total in this game. So that's pretty good. The levels that I've played have been pretty short so far. How far through are you on this game, Anthony?
Well, you do like the first 4 or 5 levels, and then you kind of have like a little boss creature almost. Like there's this big head thing. I don't know if you got to that. And then I'm on the easy mode right now, which I think there's maybe 10 levels in the easy mode. And I haven't finished all of those, because what I did was I got to maybe the 6th level, and then I decided to go back to the first one and do that super fast and get the gold medal for the first one. The second one, I haven't been able to get the gold medal. I think you have to get under like 23 seconds or something, and I just can't quite. I'm really close, but I can't quite get there. Then on the 3rd level, I have the gold medal on that one. But it's one of those kind of games. Like if you're playing Mario Kart or something, you play Mario Kart and it's like, oh, I got 2 stars, but I want to go back. I want to get 3 stars. It's that kind of thing. And so the levels are repeatable. And what you'll realize is when you go through the level, like when you're going through the level for a time score and to try to beat your time, you'll realize, oh, if I grab this ledge and just throw myself way the hell over there, I can bypass a lot of this and speed up my time dramatically. There's going to be some incredible performances that people are going to have with this game on YouTube, with doing incredible like parkour, like jumping from here, switching over there, jumping. Like I really got into it because you grab onto these things and you keep flinging yourself. My arms got a little tired after a while with all and there's a good haptic feedback sensation when your hands grab something and then push off something. There's a good feel to me with the controller where but you got to catch a flow, because if you jump a couple times, you miss your jump and then you tumble all the way down, it can be a pain in the ass. And I can see how that can be very frustrating.
Yeah. Okay. Have you got anything else that you wanted to mention this week?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, that was the only game I got to this week, so don't have anything else.
Okay, well, I've not got any. Oh, go ahead.
One other game I can mention really briefly is Drop Dead for the Oculus Rift. I don't know if you've had a chance to play this one, but I played it. And so this game came from the Gear VR, I believe. It was on the Gear VR first, and then they ported it to the Oculus Rift. And this one is like it's an automatic mover, kind of like Dimension Hunter, that demo we played, where you're like automatically moving along and you're shooting things, kind of like a House of the Dead type of thing. I played that and I had a lot of fun with it. It's very basic, it's very simple, but it's it's good, quick action fun, kind of like when we were talking about Blaze Rush. You can play for like 15-20 minutes and get a burst of action. I feel like Drop Dead's kind of like that. The only problem I had with Drop Dead is like you'll be stopped and then all of a sudden you start moving. And sometimes when you first start moving, it's a little like, it's a little herky jerky. Like it make you feel a little bit weird. But overall, I mean, there's characters that talk to you. There's voiceover. We don't get a lot of this in VR. And it's just a simple shooter. It's very much House of the Dead type of thing, or like like a light gun game, really. And there's nothing extravagant about it, but I think it's pretty solid. I believe it's $20.
Yeah, I know a lot of people enjoy this game. I haven't had a chance to try that one, unfortunately, but I'll keep an eye out for it. The last thing I wanted to mention just very quickly at the end of this show is last week I didn't have time, but I forgot to mention it. The fact that my Vive controller for some reason stopped tracking. It just wasn't displaying in VR at all, even though the buttons would still work and everything was there. I couldn't see the controller in VR, and it came up with an error message to say that it wasn't tracking. So I had to send it back to HTC, and I just wanted to talk about this because HTC get a lot of stick for their support, but I just wanted to tell this story very quickly because this is an example where they excelled really. I contacted support last Tuesday and just the chat support on the HTC website, and they went through a few things to try and get the controller working, but they couldn't do it, so they advised that I RMA it. So they sent me a label through and I sent it off Tuesday afternoon. I then get an email through Wednesday morning saying that the controller has been repaired and it'll be back to me in a couple of days. So I was thinking this has got to be some kind of a mistake because I didn't post it until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the following morning they're saying that it's already repaired. So I'm thinking this has got to be some kind of mistake. But then it showed up at my door on Thursday. So from the time I sent it off, 2 days later, I've received it back and it's been fully repaired. So I just thought that was a good little bit of service from HTC there, where they don't seem to get a lot of acknowledgement for good service that they provide in terms of support. I know you've had some problems, Anthony, with them in the past.
Well, yeah, if you go to the very first episode of VR Roundtable, I talk for like 30 minutes about, well, I don't know that long, but I talk for a long time about a complete nightmare horror story that I had. But what I heard way back then actually too was that it's a USA thing. Like the problems, like their service problem is more of a USA thing, where there's people in Germany and Italy and in the UK that have had problems, and they didn't encounter the horror stories that a lot of the American people had. And I actually talked to an HTC, like a higher up guy that wasn't even working at the call centers. Like he was working for HTC in the Seattle area, like their corporate offices. And he was telling me that they contract out with like some third parties to handle the service repair, and that they were having problems with one of their third parties, and that they were hoping to improve that dramatically. And I think in the USA it improved as well. I don't think it's the horror story it used to be.
No, hopefully not. But yeah, I was pretty pleased because I was expecting to be without the controller for, a couple of weeks at least. So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to me, that one. But I should say as well, this is a controller that I bought. The reason is it was still under warranties. This is a controller I bought separately to replace another faulty controller, which I tried to repair myself and obviously voided the warranty. So I won't be doing that again. But yeah, good little bit of service there from HTC. Is there anything else you've got to add this week, Anthony?
Yeah, no, that's basically it. Can't really think of anything. We haven't mentioned in a long time to maybe leave an iTunes review or a Stitcher review. We probably maybe should mention that a little bit more, just because what it does is it helps other people notice the podcast. So that's always nice. But other than that, I really don't have anything.
No, that's good. Yeah, so that was VR Roundtable episode 38. It was a little bit shorter this week, so I apologise for that if you were expecting a longer show. But next week, so I'll just repeat again, we've got E3 coming up. So the episode 39, which will probably be going over quite a bit of news that came out of E3, that'll probably go up a couple of days later than usual. So keep an eye out for that. But
Fallout 4, baby.
Yeah, Fallout 4. Hopefully we'll get a release date on that. But yeah, thanks for watching this episode anyway, and we'll speak to you next time.
Take it easy.